It began as a night of celebration, 3 women marking the start of a new chapter in their lives. By sunrise, they had vanished. Their cars were still in the driveway. Their purses were on the table. Their dog was pacing nervously inside the home. And to this day, no one has seen them again. This is the story of the Springfield 3, one of America's most haunting missing person cases. 3 generations of women, gone without a trace. No forced entry. No signs of struggle. Only questions that have echoed through 3 decades. Springfield, Missouri, June 1992. A growing city known for its sense of community, its tree-lined suburbs, and at the time, its low crime rate. The weekend of June 6th was one of celebration across town. Hundreds of students from Kickapoo High School had just graduated, a milestone marking the promise of adulthood. Among them were Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall, both 18, best friends since childhood. They had spent the evening attending multiple graduation parties, excited, tired, and planning to meet friends again the next morning for a trip to Whitewater Park in Branson. They never made it. At about 2 a.m. on June 7th, 1992, Suzie and Stacy left a friend's house and decided to stay the night at Suzie's home, 1717 East Delmar Street, where Suzie lived with her mother, Sherrill Levitt, a 47-year-old hairstylist. They thought they'd be safe there. It was a quiet neighborhood, the kind where you'd leave your door unlocked and wave to your neighbors every morning. Sometime between that moment and sunrise, all 3 women disappeared. Later that day, when the women didn't show up for their planned trip, friends came looking. Their cars were in the driveway, purses, money, cigarettes, and keys still inside the house. The family dog, a small Yorkshire Terrier, was found terrified, trapped inside. The only visible disturbance, a shattered globe from the porch light, perhaps broken by accident, or by someone removing it to hide in darkness. At first, police thought it was a case of runaway teenagers. Within 48 hours, it became clear this was no voluntary disappearance. The case would soon draw in hundreds of officers, thousands of tips, and more questions and answers. How could 3 women vanish from their home in the middle of the night without leaving a single trace? Was it someone they knew, a random intruder, or something much darker, something the city of Springfield has never been able to name? For over 30 years, theories have spread. Abduction buried evidence. Even serial offenders, yet no bodies, no arrests, and no closure. What follows is a comprehensive look into the case of the Springfield 3, built entirely from verified records, law enforcement reports, and witness accounts. No speculation, no sensationalism, only the facts that remain and the silence that still surrounds them. Before we go deeper into the lives of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, take a moment to subscribe to Crimes and Clues. Here, we tell real stories with empathy and precision, exploring not just what happened, but why the answers still matter. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and join us as we step inside the lives of the 3 women who vanished and the city that still searches for them. Disclaimer: this documentary is based solely on verified public records, police reports, court statements, and accredited journalism. It does not imply guilt or speculation beyond available evidence. The goal of this video is educational, to document one of America's most enduring missing person mysteries. Before the vanish became a headline, they were 3 women with everyday lives, hopes, and plans. Let's meet them. Sherrill Elizabeth Levitt was born November 1st, 1944. Standing about 5 feet tall and weighing around 110 pounds, she had light blonde hair and worked as a cosmetologist in Springfield. A single mother, she lived at 1717 East Delmar Street with her daughter Suzie. In the hours before June 7, 1992, Sherrill appeared to be planning normal family things. Friends later recalled she spoke about painting furniture. Everyone who knew her said she was kind, welcoming, and proud of her daughter's graduation. On the night she vanished, her bed appeared slept in, and most of her belongings were still inside the home. Suzie Elizabeth Streeter, born March 9, 1973, was 19 years old the day before she disappeared. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and had just graduated from high school the evening of June 6, 1992. After the ceremony, she and her friend Stacy attended graduation parties and later returned to her mother Sherrill's home. Her friends describe her as outgoing, excited for the future, and looking forward to celebrating with family. Yet, that overnight stay would become the last time she was seen by anyone alive. Stacy Kathleen McCall, born April 23, 1974, was 18 years old. She was a close friend of Suzie Streeter and joined her in the post-graduation festivities on June 6. That night, Stacy returned to Suzie's home at 1717 East Delmar Street intent on a sleepover with her friend and Suzie's mother. Her mother later discovered Stacy's clothes folded inside the house. Her car and keys remained parked in the driveway the next morning. After the excitement of graduation, the three women returned to a familiar place, a home and family they trusted. It seemed safe. But between early morning hours of June 7, 1992, something happened. They vanished. Their cars and purses remained. Their dog was left inside. There was no struggle, no smashed window, no forced entry. Just silence and questions. The shift from everyday life to disappearance would happen in mere hours. These were not strangers. They were family, friends, graduates, women with future plans. And their disappearance didn't just affect one household. It changed the city. Let's reflect on this. In an ordinary home, on an ordinary night, 3 lives were interrupted, and the world still doesn't know how or why. Before we continue into the timeline of that fateful night and how law enforcement began the search for the 3 women, take a moment to subscribe to Crimes and Clues. Join us as we uncover the timeline, the clues, and the unanswered questions that still haunt Springfield. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us to know about the night they vanished. June 6, 1992. The night began like any other graduation celebration in Springfield, Missouri. Friends hugged, music played, cameras flashed. Teenagers were stepping into adulthood, ready for summer. Among them, Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall, 2 best friends glowing with excitement after finally finishing high school. They spent the evening attending multiple graduation parties. Each stop meant more laughter, more photos, more memories. Around 2 a.m., they decided to call it a night. Their original plan was to stay at a friend's house, Janelle Kirby's, but that house had become overcrowded with guests. Instead, Suzie suggested they go back to her home on East Delmar Street, where her mother, Sherrill Levitt, would already be asleep. According to police records, at approximately 2:15 a.m., the 2 young women arrived at the Levitt home. Both parked their cars neatly outside. Nothing appeared unusual. Neighbors later reported hearing no loud noises, no argument, no sign of distress that night. Inside, Sherrill Levitt's bed looked as if it had been slept in. Her car remained in the driveway. Somewhere between 2:15 a.m. and 8 a.m., all 3 women disappeared. Around 9 a.m., friends began trying to reach Stacy and Suzie. The 2 were supposed to meet them to carpool to the Whitewater Amusement Park in Branson. They never showed up. When calls went unanswered, friends Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend decided to stop by the house to check on them. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the home was quiet. The women's purses were on the floor of the living room. All contained money, IDs, and keys. Sherrill's cigarettes and lighter were still on the nightstand. In the bathroom, makeup and toothbrushes sat undisturbed. Nothing suggested they had gone anywhere voluntarily. The family's small Yorkshire Terrier, named Cinnamon, was found agitated and anxious. It looked as though she had been trapped for hours. Outside, the only sign of anything unusual was the broken glass from the porch light. One visitor later told police she accidentally swept the glass away, thinking it was harmless debris, not realizing it could have been vital evidence. Possible evidence compromised early scene contamination. Over the next few hours, multiple friends, family members, and neighbors entered the home, unknowingly contaminating the scene before police were notified. By the time detectives arrived, potential clues, fingerprints, footprints, even the phone's answering machine tape had been erased or damaged. One visitor reported answering the house phone before police arrived. The caller made lewd and disturbing remarks when the line disconnected. Another message, possibly from the same caller, was later accidentally deleted from the answering machine. It remains unknown who made that call or what it might have revealed. By noon, the missing persons report was filed. Police officers quickly recognized that this was not a routine case of teenagers gone missing. 3 women across 2 generations had vanished simultaneously. Their cars, money, and pets left behind. There was no sign of forced entry, no ransom note, and no clear motive. The Springfield Police Department launched one of the largest investigations in Missouri's history. Over 10,000 tips would pour in over the years, and none would solve the case. Within hours, Springfield transformed from a small town into the center of mystery that would haunt the nation. The home on East Del Mar Street became a symbol of fear and unanswered questions. Before we follow investigators into their search, the evidence, the theories, and the chase for leads, hit subscribe and stay with Crimes and Clues. We're about to uncover how one of America's most baffling disappearances unfolded and why. Even 30 years later, no trace of the Springfield 3 has ever been found. By midday on June 7, 1992, Springfield police were standing at the doorstep of 1717 East Del Mar Street. What they found inside was both ordinary and deeply unsettling. 3 women gone. No sign of struggle. No forced entry. Only silence, as if life had paused between breaths. The home's front door was unlocked. The blinds half-drawn. Purses neatly lined near the living room sofa. In the kitchen, officers noticed a half-finished cup of coffee. In the bedrooms made beds, folded clothes, and everyday calm. Investigators began with what they did have, a carefully logged list of items. 3 vehicles parked outside. 3 purses containing ID, credit cards, and cash. Jewelry left in open sight. A broken porch light, swept away before police arrived. Each detail told them the same thing. These women had not planned to leave. Unfortunately, by the time police secured the property, as many as 18 people had already entered. Friends, relatives, even curious neighbors, all desperate to help, but their footsteps, touch, and movement disrupted potential evidence. Fingerprints overlapped. The answer machine message, which may have held a clue, was accidentally erased. A detective later said, "It's like chasing smoke. Every time we reached for a lead, it faded." Officers traced recent calls to the residents. None stood out except a disturbing anonymous call earlier that morning, described by witnesses as obscene and menacing. It was logged, but without recording, it could not be traced. Neighbors were interviewed. No one recalled screams or suspicious vehicles. Only the normal sounds of a quiet night after graduation. Within 24 hours, police launched a coordinated search. Helicopters combed the wooded outskirts of Greene County. Volunteers canvassed abandoned buildings and creeks. Flyers bearing the women's faces covered shop windows, gas stations, and highway rest stops. Search dogs traced partial scents from the property to the edge of the street and stopped. No trace beyond that point. It was as if the 3 women had simply vanished into the air. In those first days, investigators considered every angle. Had they been kidnapped? Could they have left voluntarily? Was this linked to anyone they knew? But with no ransom demand, no witness sightings, and no sign of struggle, none of the theories held. By June 9th, national media had picked up the story. CNN and local outlets aired urgent appeals for information. Dozens of tips poured in, all checked, none confirmed. Police documented. Broken light bulb fragments removed. Fingerprints on glass surfaces compromised. Dog hair and partial footprints inconclusive. Cigarette ash on table, Sherrill's usual brand. Nothing pointed to a specific suspect. Nothing explained how 3 women could be taken from a small house without noise or witness. For Springfield, a city that once prided itself on safety, the fear was immediate. Parents refused to let daughters go out alone. Gun sales increased. Neighborhood watch groups doubled overnight. A phrase began circulating through local news: the Springfield Three. It would soon become one of the most recognizable unsolved cases in American history. Within a week, the search had expanded across state lines. Tips arrived from Oklahoma, Texas, even Mexico, none confirmed. Detectives were racing against time, but the trail was already cold. Before we continue into the next segment, where we examine the most significant clues, suspects, and leads ever connected to this mystery, take a moment to subscribe to Crimes and Clues. We tell real stories with precision and empathy, exposing facts, not fantasies. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and join us as we explore the next phase of this investigation. As days turned to weeks, the case of the Springfield Three became the largest missing person investigation in Missouri history. Dozens of detectives were assigned full-time. Hundreds of volunteers scoured nearby woods, rivers, and abandoned properties. But without a single confirmed sighting, investigators face an agonizing question. Were the women still alive? Or had their disappearance turned into something far more tragic? Despite the chaos of the early search, a few details stood out. First, the unlocked door. Police noted that Sherrill Levitt's front door showed no forced entry, suggesting the women likely knew whoever came to the house that night. Second, the cars. All three vehicles were found parked directly outside, in line with how each woman normally parked. Their keys and purses remained inside. And third, the porch light. Investigators believe the broken glass could have been shattered deliberately, either to remove the bulb or obscure the area in darkness. Beyond that, the trail was thin. There were no ransom notes, no credit card activity, and no phone calls traced to any of the missing women. In the mid-1990s, detectives received a tip involving Robert Craig Cox, a former Army Ranger and convicted kidnapper. Cox had lived in Springfield at the time of the disappearances. He was known to police for violent crimes and had previously been convicted of abducting and assaulting a woman in Florida. In interviews with reporters years later, Cox claimed to know that the Springfield Three were dead, but refused to say where they were or what happened. When pressed for evidence, he offered none. Police have since confirmed that while Cox remains a person of interest, no physical evidence has ever tied him to the case. Detectives described his statements as attention-seeking, unsubstantiated, and inconsistent. Still, the possibility that he might have been involved kept investigators watching him closely for years. In 2007, the case took an unexpected turn. A local journalist using ground-penetrating radar claimed to have detected three irregular shapes beneath a parking garage in downtown Springfield, roughly consistent with human burial sites. Police reviewed the findings but determined the evidence inconclusive, noting that the radar had been conducted without a warrant or structural clearance. Excavating the concrete would have required demolishing a large section of the garage. As of today, the area remains untouched. And while many continue to believe something lies beneath that ground, law enforcement maintains there is no verified link to the missing women. Over the decades, police have logged more than 5,000 tips, some credible, most impossible to verify. Reported sightings came from as far as Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mexico. None have been substantiated by physical evidence. In one case, a witness claimed to have seen two women matching Suzie and Stacy's descriptions at a truck stop near Oklahoma City days after the disappearance. Surveillance footage was unavailable, and the lead went cold. Another tip described a green van seen near the Levitt residence on the night of June 7th. The van was never identified, and investigators remain unsure if it had any connection to the case. Early in the investigation, police released a composite sketch of a man seen in the area that night, middle-aged, dark hair, mustache. Despite thousands of responses, no confirmed match was ever made. The sketch remains a haunting reminder of how close and yet how far investigators came. In 2019, Springfield Police announced renewed efforts to review evidence using modern DNA testing and digital forensics. Decades-old materials, hair strands, fingerprints, trace samples were reevaluated. As of today, no breakthrough has been publicly reported. Detectives emphasize that the case remains open and active. Every lead, even 30 years later, is still logged, reviewed, and compared with new technologies. Time has become both ally and enemy. Witness memories fade, yet technology grows sharper. For Springfield, this mystery has become part of its identity, a case that every new detective studies and every old resident still remembers. As one investigator said, "You don't close a case like this. You wait for the day something or someone finally talks." 30 years, no remains, no arrests, no closure. But what the Springfield 3 left behind is more than a case file. It's a legacy that reshaped how communities understand missing person investigations. Before we move into exploring the impact, legacy, and continued search for answers, make sure you subscribe to Crimes and Clues. We're just getting closer to understanding how this mystery continues to echo across generations. More than 3 decades have passed since that June morning in 1992. Yet in Springfield, Missouri, the memory of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall has never faded. Every year, new detectives take the case file from its shelf, thousands of pages, photos, and interview logs, and ask the same question their predecessors did. What really happened inside the house on East Elmar Street? For Springfield residents, this case became more than just a mystery. It became part of the city's collective conscience, a reminder that safety can vanish as quickly as trust. Candlelight vigils still take place on anniversaries. Families still gather to share stories, hoping one new witness, one forgotten memory, might reopen the door to truth. Police officers who worked the case have long since retired, yet many still attend these memorials. As one former detective said, "You don't close a case like this. You carry it." For the families, time has been both an enemy and a healer. Suzie's brother once described their home as a museum of waiting, with photos untouched, mail preserved, and hope sealed in silence. Stacy McCall's mother has become a vocal advocate for missing person awareness, supporting organizations that help families navigate police systems and media attention. For her, the fight is not only about finding her daughter, but about ensuring no other parent faces decades of unanswered questions. The Springfield 3 case reshaped how small cities approach missing person reports. In the early 1990s, cases involving adults often required waiting periods before police action. Today, protocols have changed. Immediate response, faster evidence preservation, and digital tracking now define modern investigations. The tragedy also inspired new collaborations between local police, the FBI, and national databases like NAMUS, ensuring that no missing person is dismissed as a runaway. Even without answers, the case of Springfield 3 became a catalyst for reform. Over the years, the story has appeared in documentaries, podcasts, and investigative specials, not for spectacle, but to keep their names alive. Journalists and true crime storytellers continue to revisit the evidence, ensuring the women are remembered not as statistics, but as people whose lives were taken mid-sentence. And for every new viewer who learns their names, another light is kept burning in the search for truth. As the years pass, Springfield remains a community both haunted and united by this mystery. Perhaps the answer lies buried in forgotten evidence, or in a memory someone is still afraid to share. Perhaps one day, someone will talk and the silence will finally break. Until then, the story of the Springfield 3 endures. A reminder that even when people vanish, their absence speaks louder than words. If this story moved you, take one small action, share this video, comment your thoughts, and help keep their memory alive. Awareness brings answers. Subscribe to Crimes and Clues for more real investigations told with empathy and truth. Together, we can make sure Sherrill, Suzie, and Stacy are never forgotten. This video is dedicated to the families who still wait for answers